Begin with the Senate's vote on an abortion rights bill, a vote which Democrats knew would fail, and it did. Republicans blocked it from even making it to a final vote. Vice President Kamala Harris, who presided, voiced her displeasure with the vote moments after it happened.
Sadly, the Senate failed to stand in defense of a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And let's be clear, the majority of the American people believe in defending a woman's right, her choice, to decide what happens to her own body. And this vote clearly suggests that the Senate is not where the majority of Americans are on this issue. It also makes clear that a priority for all who care about this issue, a priority should be to elect pro-choice leaders at the local, the state, and the federal level.
President Biden released a statement shortly after the vote. It began, quote, "Once again, as fundamental rights are at risk at the Supreme Court, Senate Republicans have blocked passage of the Women's Health Protection Act, a bill that affirmatively protects access to reproductive health care. This failure to act comes at a time when women's constitutional rights are under unprecedented attack, and it runs counter to the will of the majority of American people." Let us bring in CBS News political reporter Caitlin Huey-Burns on Capitol Hill. Caitlin, take us through how all this played out today.
Hey, Major. Well, this was a very high-profile vote, but came to a really anticlimactic conclusion. We knew going into this vote, and Democrats knew going into this vote, that it wasn't going to pass. Didn't have enough votes to overcome a filibuster, and it didn't have enough votes for the actual text of the legislation. Joe Manchin, Democrat from West Virginia, came out today and said he could not support this measure, but he does support codifying Roe versus Wade into law. I actually caught up with him right after the vote, and he said, look, if we just had a straightforward vote on Roe versus Wade, putting it into law, that should be the way to go. It has support from 70% of Americans. We have our own CBS News polling showing majority support for it. But this bill that Democrats put to the floor today has extra provisions. It wants to get rid of some restrictions that we've seen at the state level. So Democrats say that this is the way to go. Republicans like Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, who have their own measure to codify Roe, say that this bill was too broad. Democrats I've talked to say that Republican bill is too narrow. But to paint the picture of what it was like up here on Capitol Hill, I mean, this is a tense kind of moment. Senators knew that this was an important debate, even though they knew the conclusion of the vote. Across the way from where I'm standing is the Supreme Court. There are protesters outside of there. Earlier this afternoon, House Democrats crossed over the Capitol to this side where I'm at, to the Senate side, to show their opposition to the Supreme Court likelihood of overturning Roe versus Wade, and to express support for the vote.
So, Caitlin, you and I have been on Capitol Hill for many years. We've watched lots of votes about abortion policy, and they always seem to be sort of in that realm of, well, this is important to those voters who we know care about this issue. But it feels like this debate, this conversation, this vote had a broader sense of political importance around it, because now the country is sensitized to what might be coming from the Supreme Court. What are you hearing about how both parties now intend to leverage both this debate, this vote, and this issue going forward?
Exactly. And I've been asking lawmakers, especially Democrats up here, okay, so what's next? Because they have all been saying, look, we need to do everything we can to preserve abortion rights in this country. Yet they aren't really interested in taking up some of the proposals from Lisa Murkowski or Susan Collins, some of the Republicans. And so that raises the question about, what can they actually do? What do they want to do? And that really shows how they want to make this a midterm election message. I kept asking Democratic senators up here, okay, so what is next? What more can Democrats do, knowing this vote will fail? And they all told me essentially, well, voters need to show up and vote for more Democrats in the Senate, in the House, and especially in governor's races and state legislatures, which are passing this kind of legislation. So I didn't get a sense that they have a clear pathway in terms of how to get something done legislatively. We know that it's an uphill climb, of course, as the vote today previewed, but they are using this as a midterm message that they hope galvanizes their supporters. But that still remains an open question.
Caitlin, you mentioned a moment ago CBS News polling on this subject. In general, what do the survey data tell us about public sentiment heading into the midterms on this issue?
Well, we see a majority support for keeping Roe v. Wade in place, but going deeper into the numbers, there's some interesting things to look at ahead of the midterms. 2/3 of voters say that this is not an issue that will motivate them either way to turn out to vote. But when you look at Democrats versus Republicans, Democrats are twice as more likely than Republicans to say this is an issue that sways them. And Major, you know very well from covering politics over the years that Republicans have been very effective at rallying their base, motivating their base around kind of a single issue on abortion and the courts. That's something that helped Donald Trump coalesce the Republican Party around him in 2016. He said that he would support pro-life judges to the Supreme Court. And so they have been effective in that regard. Democrats, not so much. But Democrats I've been talking to, I've been asking them that heading into this midterm, and they say that now this is an issue that is no longer something that they just talk about as a potential threat, but now it's an actual reality, and they hope that message gets out to voters. But as our polling shows, it may not be the one that motivates them exactly, because the inflation and economy, are still top of mind for a lot of folks.
On Capitol Hill for us today, Caitlin Huey-Burns. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.